Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track. We post an interview with an amazing Canadian each weekday for your daily inspiration. Today, I would like to introduce you to my friend, Joy Pavelich. Joy was born in Kenniston, Saskatchewan, and she loves her small town roots. Oh, I can relate, Joy. Joy tells me that her loved ones mean everything to her. She's a mother of 3 sons that are the light of her life, and she also has an extended family that she adores. Part of 2 cultures, Croatian father and French Canadian mother. Wow. Interestingly, neither of Joy's parents' first language is English. As a result, they both sides celebrate family in a big way. Besides Joy's family, she is most passionate about making meaning from the changes life has thrown her way. She remembers leaving Saskatchewan after her son Eric's funeral, and she ran into her high school principal, who was a huge positive influence in her life and career direction. He said to her, "Make it count," and somehow it gave her strength. If this story can help another, then it makes Eric's life and our journey matter. And you will find her full bio attached. Joy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's a huge honor to be part of this.
You've always been on my list. Yeah, you've just been a busy girl. Thank you. And are you ready for the questions that I sent your way?
I am.
Excellent. So the first one being, what's been your greatest challenge in the last few months?
So I don't know that, the pandemic hasn't challenged me. My life hasn't changed a lot as a result. I was already working remotely. So, my work hasn't changed. I didn't lose my job. I think I came through relatively unscathed. Not so much my sons, both of their lives were affected. But what I've really noticed is the volume of mental health struggles, how exponentially high that's become. And I think because of the work I do, a lot of people reach out to me I don't ever want to discredit COVID-19. Like, I'm doing everything that's asked. I believe in it. Well, really early in the pandemic, a friend of mine in the UK had it and he almost died. So it was real quick for me. But what I can say is, outside of knowing only a few people who've actually had the virus, I've known of several people who've died by suicide or overdose and who are really, really struggling. And I think this, what the pandemic has done and the isolation that it's created for people, and that lack of access to resources has really, really created a mental health crisis that I think is just actually starting to show. The cracks are starting to show, and we talk a lot about the second wave of the pandemic being a mental health crisis, and that's what I'm seeing in my life and on the ground and in my work.
Well, hats off to you, Joy, for the work that you do. I can't imagine. In my little world, I've noticed a huge change with mental health issues. And man, the amount of people, you're right. I had a very close friend die of suicide, and it was a terrible tragedy because of all this. And it's so sad to watch and be part of.
Yeah.
The 3 things that you'd like to share with the audience today.
So I think the first one, and I made notes, so if you see me looking off to the side here, but the first one is really, sometimes we need help and sometimes we can help others. And really, we don't know when we're going to end up on either side of that equation. And, that's certainly what, when Eric died, I remember just, I'd always been the sort of person who wanted to, if somebody helped me, I'd help them. I really believed in that give and take. And I remember hitting this point where so many people were so supportive, and I knew that if I spent the rest of my life trying to help, trying to pay it back, I'd never get to it. That's how generous and kind people were. So I made this mental pledge to myself that what I would do is just keep paying it forward, where I could. And so I really think that depending on where we are, if you need help, ask for help. Don't be scared to ask for help. Or if somebody reaches out to help you, accept and allow it. It's okay. Sometimes that's all they can do, and they really want to. And, if you have the opportunity to help somebody, help them. If you can give someone a hand up, just reach out your hand. What's the worst that can happen? They can say, I'm okay. I don't need your help, but at least you've tried. So I'd say, yeah, just let people help, and then in return help others, and the world gets a lot nicer for everybody then. little kind of, and I guess that was only one. And then I think difficult times really teach us the value of what's important, right? It sort of cuts through all the noise and the chaos in our lives. And, the pandemic's done it. I know, losing my son, other different crises I've had in my life, really, it's like the cream in our lives really rises to the top. And for this, typically I've always gone back to Saskatchewan for Mother's Day, for Easter, for, if there's a long weekend, I get to spend it with family. And the strange feeling of this is just something so simple that I took for granted, having access to my extended family and not being able to go and doing it out of love, right? But, crises do teach us what's really, really important, and we get to get rid of we get to shed a lot of unimportant things. And so I think that's a bit of a hidden lining in things like the pandemic. And then finally, this is kind of my message to myself, and I offer it to anyone: just let everything you touch turn to love. And that is my daily mantra.
I love that.
Thank you.
So nice, Joy. And the last thing, the good news, legacy, or whatever you'd like to close with.
So actually, what I'd like to close with is my book, even though it's not a legacy of the pandemic. But I think loss is, loss is loss is loss. And tools are tools. And so, yeah, my book was just released. And actually, it's a little bit strange because of the pandemic, because I can't do a formal launch. I wanted to celebrate with people that I care about and do something, but we can't do it. So I'm going to do some book signings and encourage people to buy it, of course. And I just want to remind everyone: authors don't write to get rich; they write to tell a story. But just on the weekend, a family friend's son passed away, and these are the people that I want my book to touch, right? So it's called Chasing My Son Across Heaven. It really is about, my research had been what happens to people when trauma hits, and about their loss of, their entire belief system is fractured and how you have to rebuild it. And so it's a very spiritual journey. I always want to give people that heads up, because they might feel it's a little bit out there, but it really is about how I had to rebuild faith to survive in this world. And there's been lots of tragedies associated with COVID. So if someone thinks, you're kind of don't know how to support someone else, maybe like I did from other writers, somebody could find some, just a moment of hope to cling to get them to the next moment. So just that's sort of my good news story, is that in the midst of all this, my book was released.
I'm very excited and can't wait to read your book, Joy. I know your story, and I can only imagine the impact that it will make for many. So well done.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your show. It means a lot. Like the support again, like I said, we live in a generous community, a generous city, a generous province, and a generous country. Canadians are pretty wonderful people. So
pretty cool.
Really proud of you.
I agree. Before we close, I'd love to share, Kim Moody had a book launch, and we had over 150 people online. And he read a few snippets from it, and we could see all of the attendees. There was opportunity to ask questions. We decided that we could even record it. Like, there's lots of different things that can be done online. And it was a very successful book launch.
Oh,
so
wow.
It might be something that you consider, and I'm happy to take it offline if you wish.
Sure, I'd love to talk about it. Yeah, because that was one of the things I was talking to, like, one of the local chapters about. And because, their head office has given them the directive not to do signings. So we were trying or not to do launches or signings like any public events. So trying to figure out how to get that message out. And I know they've been putting stuff on like their Facebook and whatever, but yeah, the beauty of technology is the reach. So I'd love to take that offline and talk to you.
Happy to, and happy to promote it as well. I think it's going to be a wonderful book for everyone to read.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Thanks again for joining us. I know you're a busy girl, doing great things and changing the world, making an impact every day. So great work.
Thank you, Catherine. As are you.
Thank you, Joy. That was my dear friend Joy. Check out her book, Chasing Her Son Across Heaven. I can't wait to read it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Cats Track. Have a great day.